All right, so for this Thursday of our next to our last week, your lecture is going to be an introduction to cloud. I did a lot of research here trying to figure out, because I had done a different video last time, and I decided to do this one. And this guy, actually, this course is actually if you're going to get cloud certified through AWS. This is AWS's Amazon Web Services. This is an online course you could take, but I really like this because it gives you that introduction, and then about halfway through he actually gives you a demo of the three most popular ones, which is Amazon, Google's cloud platform, and Azure as well. So I just like this whole video, and I think it's worth your time. So it's 28 minutes. It's not as long as some of the ones we've done before. So watch the whole thing and take notes on that. Okay, so because trust me, if you continue with this industry, you're going to have somewhere you're deploying your apps or your websites to. So in our case, we're deploying them to GitHub Pages. But if you're really doing an app, you would probably use one of these three services in some way, or some other host. There are definitely other choices out there, but many are choosing these big cloud platforms because they're fast and they're relatively cheap, and they offer a lot of services, right? So just FYI about that. So watch that whole thing, call the file cloudmd, and put it in your lectures private. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to actually do a little bit of what we are doing here. Is I'm actually going to show you how I found a photo, I downloaded it, I modified it to work in my site, and I'm also going to show you how to add a favicon, which is fun. Like in this case, I know it's a little hard to see. I think I can zoom in. So in this case, these are favicons, and they're a nice way to brand your site, and there's really easy ways of doing it. Okay, so let me first start with, and then I'll end with talking about what I sometimes forget, so let me do it. Is there are many build systems, and we kind of waved our hand about this when we were looking at the template, but I want to bring you back to this idea because I at least want you to know what some of these are, like Gulp and Grunt and other ones. And here's some pretty good articles, so if you don't know what build systems are, there are definitely some out there. And then I want you to choose one, do some more research on it. There's also, this talks about, some of the ones that are out there. Gulp at this point. Webpack is another one, especially if you're using some of the newer language features. Anyway, I'm not going to get too far here. I just want you to select a popular build system. And if they're all taken by the time you get here, then just do some more research, because there's so much that has been written about building systems that build websites and web apps. So you could find this will at least give you a jumping off point, right? So in this case, write a bit about what research you've done and share any links that you have. Okay, back to the hands-on part of this. So I'm going to move over to my site, and I'm working on my life page, right? So I know I want an image of myself there, right? So in this case, I'm going to scroll down here, and this is where I ended up taking off the masthead. I'm sure there's some impact I'm going to have of doing that, but for now it was fine. And so let me show you the end result, and then I'll show you how I got there. So this is how I ended up doing it. Was I used a filter under Pixlr. So let me show you that. So let me show you the original file. Here's the original file. So what I did is I flipped it, and the reason I did that was so that my text, I could have moved my text as well, but it was just as easy to flip it. I'll show you how I did that. But I also gave it a filter. So I uploaded into Pixlr. There's ways you can flip your images horizontally, right? You can also, and by the way, looking over here at history shows you how you can also see what you've done to an image, and you can see I applied the old photo style, but if I do an edit undo, right, you can see that was I actually had played with it a little more, but basically what is I went up to here, right? And blur is kind of fun to play with as well, but I just decided that old photo, where is it? Is it under, oh, it's under here. Old photo. So there's adjustments and then there's filters, right? So you can play with these to kind of see what they do, right? So that actually puts in, if you notice, that box around it, right? So you can play with these two to kind of see, right? Like that kind of, I don't know if I would, but that's, you know, again, you can play with this, right? So that's the cool thing about this. One thing, and you may not ever want to do this, but I was playing around with this, was I wanted to blur everything but my face. So just show you this because it's just going to know. There's this thing called the lasso, and every editor does something different, but I'm clicking and holding and dragging around my face. And what that does is it selects my face, and then I can go into here, edit, and I can inverse. So what this is going to do is going to take everything I haven't selected, so it's going to inverse and select everything else around it, and that's what it did. So it inverses a selection. And then what you can do here is now I could, if I wanted to, do like a blur. And that then, if you see, I can increase my blur if I want, right? So if I did that a little better and I took a little more time, I could have easily got a nice, you know, blurred background, which you often see. My original template had that idea, so I kind of liked playing with it. But I ended up doing this because it was fine, and I'll probably end up maybe blurring this and playing with it a little more. And I just started putting on some content here, right? So if I go back here, right, so then I've built this out and I at least have and I need to start working on that one. All right, let's go back here. So the thing, let me just walk you through. It's really pretty straightforward is how to do the Favicon. Now you can do just a Google search for Favicon generator, and these favicons are now actually also used as application icons on phones, so that's why there's so many more options when you do them. And I really just wanted something simple. You can actually look at some of these where you upload an image and it'll actually create a favicon. The key to that is you're going to want it in a square. Because if you have it in anything that's not a square, when it comes out it's going to have white around it. So you can play with this one. I've played with this one before, but the one I ended up choosing, and I'm just going to scroll down here to find it, was the favorite one that was completely free. And then all I did is generate from text. You actually do have the ability to generate from image, which is kind of cool, so a PNG. And so I just used because it was a vanity site, I just used my initials. I used a little smaller font, right? Because I knew, and then I used a square, and this is just the way it looks. And then I use a different font. That wasn't the one I used. I think I used this one, something like that, but I probably would want to go down to like 90 in that case. And you just play around with this, and this is your font color, and this is your background. It's just, you know, but again, play around with this. You know, create a favicon for your site, and then what you can do is you can download it. And what you're going to want to end up with, and there's the favicons come in 48, 32, and 16. And let me show you this. It downloaded, let me pull this up so you can see it. This favicon.ico file. It's not on here, it's right here. And if I go into my local thing, you can do this on Pixlr as well. I can tell this was 48. I know I'm going to want a 16, right? So I could do that. I think you can do a 48 as well. I don't think that's a problem, right? So what you want to do is put this file in your, and let me just show you now because I've already done it. Put it in your root of your GitHub IO, and then in your index file, and really you're going to have to end up copying and pasting if you haven't done this, because I think you have to have this on every page. Here's the only line I put, and there's much more you could do here, but I'm doing kind of the minimal. So link rel, link icon rel is the actual file image type. It is basically a GIF ICO, and then the size. So if you get a bigger size, you want to use that, right? So let me see now that I've actually talked about this, because I haven't done it. Let's see if it did. Oh, it did. I didn't think I put it on live. How about on work? Did I put it on all this pages? I may have done this and not realized it. So let me see on live. Did I put it? Because maybe it's just the end. No, I got it on there. That's right. And then on work, do I have it on there? I do. Okay. So you're going to want this on every physical file that you have. But in this case, it's fairly easy to just copy and paste if you've already created a couple pages, right? I think the last thing I'll do here, and so by the way, again, this, you'll know it shows up here, and then it should show up again, making sure you don't use upper and lower cases in those spaces. You need to actually call it Favicon here. But let me just one last time, since we're close to there, go over the end of semester, right? So in this case, you're 4 to 5. We've talked about that, making sure you select either a personal site or something you've talked to me about, right? Or an organization of the class topics. So each page, each topic will become a page, right? So, but each menu is also a page. So in that case, you would also then create links to other pages that would be within that category, right? So for me, when I'm looking right now at like my life, right, I would want to have 4 to 5, you could break it up. You probably want to kind of evenly select the number of pages you have underneath there. Right? Work would be pretty easy because I could talk about, maybe this is a better example, I could talk about my JavaScript class, I could talk about this class, my CIT82 class, right? And then I would link this somewhere on this page to that subpage. Now some of you actually have sites that have drop-down menus, and I actually could play with, and I might do this before next week, is play with a drop-down menu here. But until I do that, I would just need to have some content on this page somewhere, and I could probably put it down here if I wanted to, right? As I could put some content for other pages that are under my life menu or my life category of my site, right? So then each page, now this is really about more of the course content, so you're going to have some kind of writing on here, right? This is why I'm guessing some of you will select to organize the course content, but maybe not. I'm going to actually do it this way. And then associated image, this is what we've been talking about, right? And then each page also needs to have a unique title. I think I've talked about this before, but this is it. So each page, when I look at this, I'll look for that unique title, right? And then 200 words of original content on the index page. So that means on here, right, there needs to be some original content that you've written on here. Like, so for me, if I look at that page, that index page that I have here, I would need to have written some content on here somewhere, some original content that just gives an overview of the page itself. But the rest of it can come from somewhere else. As a matter of fact, one easy thing might be to do is go find some of your posts on Facebook or other social media stuff and use those as some of your content, right? That might be kind of a fun way to do it. But again, if you're going to use something besides either a personal site or the course, you need to chat with me about that. Right? Okay, and then you do your normal, push it out to your GitHub IO, and then, and actually it wouldn't be a heading, it would just be on the submission. And I'll actually talk about the submission next week a little bit, but I just wanted to, for this time, is go over those just to give you that, making sure, because really you should be well into building your sites at this point. Okay? All right, hope that helps you out. Talk to you later.